And we thought we were doing so well with the DMV. Really, we did. We did. Well, good evening and welcome to State of Mind. I am Dan Yorke. Coming up this evening, we have State Senator Frank Lombardi. He's demanding an audit of the DMV. Doggone it, I thought we were doing good. I mean, Lee Chafee actually even announced he's not running for re-election at the DMV because it was one of his major successes. He says it's an inherited problem, but we'll discuss. To the rundown, we're almost home, baby. They got 2 tests in, and you're almost clean. No poo-poo worries. Almost. Hang in there. 6 days to a shutdown. There's a lot going on with this 6-day run to whether or not we're going to have Obamacare and or the government continuing to operate. The Speaker of the House has got a problem, a big problem with this investigation by the Ethics Commission. It's a little bigger than you think it is at first glance, and I'll explain why. The Providence College folks have dismissed a gentleman who wanted to come in and advocate and tell great stories about same-sex marriage. A couple of nuances to that we ought to just touch on, and this one is, let me tell you something. If it was me, where are we, Laura? If it was me, it'd be more than 18 grand. Okay, let's get to it. All right, we all know that there's a boil water alert in Kent County and Potawatomi section of Warwick because they're on the Kent County water system. It's a pain in the neck, and small businesses suffer during all of this. Here's Steve's report on, really, the story of one business that, you know, the margins are this thin.
Well, yeah, let's check it on that. This is reality for Emilio's Bakery in West Warwick.
We boil it in here, throw bleach in there, rinse out, and rinse all clean water. Then it's just more of a hassle than anything else. But what are you going to do?
Washing hands, pouring coffee, and baking all has to be done from purified bottled water.
I know it's going to cut into my business. The percentage, I don't know, but it's definitely going to cut into my business.
Cosmo Marano showed us around the bakery now that they've been placed on a boil order since Sunday afternoon. Their usable boiled water is in this pot.
This is my clean water.
Everything else needs to come from bottles. Even making coffee becomes more of a process now.
I pour this in here. Coffee ground, put it in here. And all we have to do is pour this into here.
Customers came by making sure it was still safe to drink.
The first question they ask is, oh, are you serving coffee? Because, you know, with the whole E. coli in the water in Kent County.
Well, I did inquire if they're using bottled water or tap water. Otherwise, no, not concerned at all.
Marano is upset no one told his business about the boil order until his brother called him Monday morning.
They don't like to notify anybody, I guess. I don't know. You know, they're not concerned. The public officials not concerned about the small business people, the residents in West Warwick. I don't know what's going on.
You know, whenever you have a water problem like this, whether it's a flood or a minor worry that's not so minor for the small businesses, they suffer. And it just goes to show you, listen, thank your small business for being in business. Because it's not as easy as, if you're on a payroll somewhere, you need to know that people like this guy stay up late at night, blood, sweating, and tearing over whether they're going to make the nut tomorrow. And this doesn't help. So kudos and hang in there for all you small businesses that deal with this kind of stuff. So we're 2 days in, another clean water test tomorrow, and we'll be good. But on this timeliness, we talked about it last night rather, but this timeliness thing, listen, I often wonder where Lee Chafee's mind is. I'm never worried about the First Lady, but after she said this, I do. Listen to this.
You know, everyone says it was a delay, but when talking to Dr. Fine, we really were very fast, and we really have prevented a great many potentially illnesses. It actually went very quickly.
First of all, the actual decision came out at 9:30 Sunday morning. Most folks didn't know about it until late Sunday afternoon, into the evening, and the next day. That's number one thing, Madam First Lady. Secondly, what illnesses were prevented? We haven't heard that there's any illnesses at all anyway. It might be just a little bit of E. coli, a little bit of, in the water, and it's washing out, it seems. Who got saved from what tummy ache? You know, I don't hear anybody having driven the porcelain bus or sitting on the porcelain bus, so I have no idea what she's talking about. Maybe the apple does, my wife and I have shared traits over the 22 plus years that we've been married. Maybe Steph and Link are, woo! All right, let's move on here. 6 days to shut down. Here's a headline from Politico on how close this is for the president. Obamacare, one blow after another. And what they mean by that story detailed the kind of pare down that Obamacare has had to suffer since its inception 3 years ago. Remember, it's a rollout. And between Supreme Court decisions and other legislative moves and delays in funding for this particular application and that particular application, this thing has gotten whittled down a little bit. Here's what's at stake. October 1st is a big, 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 big day on a couple of different levels. Harry Reid reflects on it in the Senate chamber.
We will not bow to Tea Party anarchists who refuse to accept the Supreme Court ruled Obamacare to be constitutional. And we will not bow to Tea Party anarchists in the House or in the Senate who ignore the fact that President Obama was overwhelmingly reelected.
Look, he makes a point, but of course he's got to throw in the anarchist, right? Sheldon Whitehouse had to throw in extremist yesterday. The Democratic name-calling for conservative GOP members who have a strong feeling about Obamacare is outrageous. You know, when you resort to name-calling, maybe you don't have the argument on your side. The American people have a lot of worry about this Obamacare. Here's where this whole thing works out. Now, follow. We've got a continuing resolution to keep the government running that's due by October 1st. All right? The House passed a continuing resolution but said, you know what? We're going to defund Obamacare in the middle of that. The Senate says, well, we're not going to deal with that. That's not going to happen. So we're probably going to kick it back. But there's a whole bunch of kick it back with Obamacare funded. Now, there's a cloture vote battle going on, and I don't have the time tonight to talk to you about how that works, but you ought to look up cloture. Here's where the October 1 thing is really, really, really important. You begin to sign up for different health plans under Obamacare that are subsidized by the federal government October 1st. So the Republicans want to stop the funding of it so that you can't sign up to funded plans. That's why they're racing in accord with the deadline to keep the continuing resolution running. Are you following all that? Pay attention, because there's multi-facets to why this deadline is so important. All righty, let us continue. So important, House Speaker Gordon Fox got himself a little situation. A woman by the name of Judith Riley first told the Hummel Report, Jim Hummel, HummelReport.com, you ought to look it up. I might have Jim on sometime soon to talk about this, but she first complained about the Providence Economic Development Partnership, which is a quasi-city agency in Providence, federally funded to help, give you loans to buy businesses or save businesses. Gordon Fox, the Speaker of the House, this guy right here, is a lawyer by trade. For a 5-year period of time, he was doing subcontract work for another lawyer to close these loans. He never reported the income. Ms. Riley went to the Ethics Commission today to file her complaint, and the Ethics Commission is taking the case. Okay? There's the headline, Rhode Island Ethics Commission to investigate Fox. Reportedly, Fox's lawyer today said, well, it was an oversight by Gordon. We'll give you all the paperwork. Didn't know that we had to file because we were subcontractors. Hey, guess what? If you're a subcontractor and you don't file on an ethics basis, it's a shell game, Gordon. Any lawyer, any Kmart lawyer knows that. So the Kmart lawyer is the Speaker of the House, and he can't put those two concepts together. There's more to this story than meets the eye, and Gordon's got some problems. Did you see this? Providence College cancels lecture in support of same-sex marriage. Given that the Pope has come out and set a new direction for same-sex marriage, you would think that this is problematic. But you know what? Let me point this out. Providence College is a private institution and can invite or de-invite anybody they want to. And the provost says the following: the incident in question is thus not really about academic freedom, but rather goes to the meaning of being a Catholic college. Should a Catholic college invite an outside speaker to campus, pay that person an honorarium, and give that person an unchallenged platform for which to present arguments designed to undermine a central tenet of the Catholic faith? I guess not. But here's the thing. When you just read headlines, a lot of people are going to be confused by the tone at the Vatican and the headline in this story. It's It's a game to follow. It's a roller coaster when it comes to Catholicism and this key issue. Well, I'd like to follow up on that, see if we can't get some folks from PC in to talk about that. So we'll put that on our to-do list. And finally, on a semi-lighter note, headline, strip search to cost Providence $18,000. Did you hear about this? So there's this guy who was suspected of having drugs on him. And this was a while back in August of 2009. And reportedly, one of the officers who is now culpable tells him, I'm going to give you 45 seconds to come up with the name of somebody and give up what you have, or we're going up there. Do you know where up there is? Like, up there. Another quote, I'm going to give you a chance to give somebody up, gloves on, or I'm going up there. Let me tell you something. Turned out he had no drugs up there, and his lawyer sued, and he's getting 18 grand. Let me tell you something. If they went up there on me and came up with nothing, I'd be looking for a lot more than 18 grand. But that's just me. It's a discount. When we come back, the numbers game with the DMV and a state senator who wants an audit. Stay with us. Up there, huh? I don't know, Senator. If they went up there and didn't find anything from you, well, you'd want more than 18 grand too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Senator Frank Lombardi is with us. Good guy from Cranston. You're a little miffed over what I think everybody's a little miffed over, and that is double the expenditure for a computer system at our beloved and sacred and hallowed and controversial DMV, right?
Absolutely. I'm more than a little miffed. I'm a lot miffed.
You are. Well, listen, I guess the governor is too. He was on Newsmakers with Tim and the gang on Channel 12 this past Sunday. Here's what he said. He blamed, of course, it's the first administration's problem. It's always their problem. Here's what he said.
I did inherit this computer system, which has been a nightmare for the previous administration and for us. I was on the phone to the CEO of Hewlett-Packard with Richard Leach, talking about right to the top, what can we do to get this system working?
Look, he did inherit the system, but for God's sake, he's been around a while. So your take, is there a good guy or a bad guy in this whole thing?
Well, we don't know, and that's what I want to find out. I want to find out the answers. What I do know is this started in 06. It went out to bid in 06. A bid was awarded in 08, and there was a promise in July of 2010 when we opened the new DMV that this would be up and running in the fall of 2010. And here we are in 2013, and we're 15 million in the hole, and we have no computer system. So I think that's what
we have a computer system.
Well, we have an 1983 computer system.
Yes, we do.
Right, yeah, a very antiquated computer system.
Which has got like, 16 different areas of input, none of which necessarily talk to each other.
Exactly. And that's what I want the Auditor General to do. I want him to, he apparently has a lot of information that he wants to compile. He wants to give us that information, wants to share that with us, and then we see where we go from there. And I think that's a great way of doing this. And finding out, if there's blame to be cast, let's put the blame where it has to be put. But certainly I credit the administration for at least bringing forward the issue in 14. This thing was laying dormant for 3.5 years.
Right, well, Laura, throw that video up. I feel, in a way, I feel bad for the governor, who I, sometimes tackle pretty hard. But here he announced his "I'm not running for office" thing at the DMV, and to his credit, honestly. And I'd like him to keep focusing on this, because then he'll stay out of everybody else's wallet and just not do any damage for the next 15 months. But he has improved the DMV. He brought some people in there who did some, Ms. Holly and others. And of course, you've got the former police training, the police chief, Mr. Silva, who I think is a top-notch guy.
Absolutely. That's
running that place. And I went in there, and last time I had what did I do? Buy a car? Yeah, I bought a car, used car for my daughter, whatever. I think it was out of there in 40 minutes. So it's better.
Absolutely.
The public is seeing a better time at the DMV, right?
Yes, they are, for the most part. You still get some horror stories. You still get some situations. I'm still getting, now with this publicity that I'm getting with this, getting some phone calls. They've had some horror stories there. But it certainly has gotten much better. And I think what we need to do is get this system up and running that is supposed to be this one-stop shopping where you can go to one kiosk within the DMV and get your problem solved and get you out on the road quickly. and that's hasn't happened yet.
So what are you going to try to do here by calling for the audit? What is there a legislative application to this, or just you having a bully pulpit?
Well, it's not really a bully pulpit, but technically, it started with my request to the president, Senate President, asking her to communicate to the Auditor General. Auditor General got back to us right away, was prepared to take on the task at hand. Apparently there's a wealth of information out there, but it's not centrally compiled. He's going to do that, and he's going to give us some answers to certain questions. And then at that point, we're going to see where we have to go. And if it has to be an audit, it has to be an audit. My first question, Dan, is I'm a lawyer. That's my first question. Is there legal responsibility to be held?
Oh, I thought you were asking yourself if you were a lawyer.
No, I am a lawyer. Right, I am a lawyer, and that's the first question I asked.
Right.
And that is there some legal responsibility to be had here? Is there a way out of this thing? Is there a way that we can recoup the $8 million that we're losing from this? These are all the questions.
Well, if you read the story, the state has actually had to pay out damages over the course of time.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if there's damages, when you start to get into litigation over something like this, it becomes cross litigation, and you can't figure out what's going on. I think the people probably would like you just to find the way and the magic wand that just says, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Right.
This place is running like a top.
Right.
The bottom line here is, for I think a lot of people, though, I don't think anybody ever believes that the Rhode Island DMV will be a well-oiled machine. Do you?
Well, it's funny you say that, and that's what prompted all of this. I was sitting at home watching the news, and it was that response from a Joe on the street who said, look, it's Rhode Island. It's par for the course, and it's something we've grown to expect. And that's something, and I think it's particular to the DMV, and I think it's general to the state of Rhode Island, and that's a sentiment that we've got to get rid of. Yeah. We've got to get rid of it.
All right, when we come back, I'm going to ask the state senator to put on his school committee cap, because he used to be on the Cranston School Committee. You're not still on the school committee. You can't have both jobs. No. But he was instrumental in that prayer banner controversy that's come to an anticlimactic end. Stay with us. You guys don't mind if we kill a couple of birds with one stone here with the conversation with State Senator Frank Lombardi. You were on the school committee in Cranston for how long?
For 6 years.
All right, so you were in the middle, and you were very responsive and interactive with any questions regarding the famous prayer banner controversy.
Absolutely.
When the young 16-year-old Ms. Alquist protested the Heavenly Father and Amen on the banner that had been there since 1963, given by the class of at Cranston West High School. And of course, there was a lot of hyperbole, a lot of vitriol, a lot of controversy regarding the whole thing. The federal judge, Laguerre, decided, you know what, it's got to go. Then you guys had to decide whether you wanted to fight it.
Right.
Long story short, the class of '63 stayed with this story and put up, Laura, I don't know if you've got here we go. There, Frank, you've seen this, right?
Yes,
These are the two new versions of the banner, and I read it yesterday, and I think it's a very nice story about how, classmates from 50 years ago stayed with it, kind of a collaborative effort. But here's the thing that bothers me. Tell me what you think. Why did it have to be so quiet this past Saturday with no elected officials, no public officials, no media to speak of? The Journal kind of wedged their way in. Why be so quiet about, you're going to drop these banners down in the high school? Why not have it a teaching moment, make it a public thing? The First Amendment doesn't hurt anybody. What's your thoughts?
I agree with you. In fact, I thought I was going to be invited. I knew about it, and then...
well, if you were de-invited.
I was de-invited, yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I think we needed a culmination to what was a pretty polarizing situation at the time. I don't think there would have been any harm in allowing people to be there. There wasn't anybody that was going to jump up on their soapbox and pontificate either way. I think that there was if I had to guess, I don't know this to be a fact, but I think the administration was probably concerned that it was going to relive and rekindle all of that controversy again.
So what?
No, exactly.
So, see, my point is, so what? Bureaucrats have become so afraid of their own shadows, and I think it just feels like to them too much work. The First Amendment ought to be celebrated. It's not pretty, it's uncomfortable.
Exactly.
So the banners get dropped down, unless I'm missing something, the banners get dropped down this week in front of, how many kids go to Carson West? 1,500, couple
About
thousand?
1,800.
So 1,800 kids are walking through the school wondering, oh, look at that, as opposed to an assembly and a presentation and a travel of the case, maybe arguments on both sides, a civics lesson, discourse, debate. Instead, they bury the thing. What does that do to help the kids?
You know, even from the beginning, in the initiation of the controversy, there were so many people advocating this should be a civics lesson, should be something taught to everybody, all inclusive, either side, wherever you fell. And I think that this would have been the perfect opportunity to do so. And I agree with you, Dan. I thought that the public should have been invited, should have been there, proper security could have been there, and we could have taught our kids a lesson.
It's also a little bit of a backhanded problem. It's a little bit of a slap to the hardworking people of the class of '63, who I think, I'm sure there's some who wanted it to be quiet and others who wanted it to be, you know, a little bit more public attention. But, you know, they worked hard on this. They deserve a little bit more juice.
Yes.
Well, I would recommend, listen, it's one thing for me to criticize. It's another thing for you to constructively offer. Perhaps you ought to go back in your role as a state senator and say, hey, listen, have an assembly. Celebrate the First Amendment. Have some discourse. Have a debate. Stop being so worried about your own shadows. Bureaucrats get all cocooned up and they screw it up.
Right. Great idea.
You with me?
Yeah.
See if you can get that done.
I will.
All right, so you got two assignments. You got to fix the DMV.
Okay.
And you got to get a public event for the new banners.
Okay, would you like this done by Friday?
Well, what day is today? Tuesday? Nice to see you.
Same here.
Thanks for coming.
My
in.
pleasure,
State Senator Frank Lombardi. Hello. When we come back, your state of mind. Stay with us. Whether you're calling me or emailing me or Facebooking me or tweeting at me, I want to know what your state of mind is. Looks like we've got one from Janine. I don't know who said this first. Was it me and she was quoting me, or it's her own original thought? I'm confused. The social media does that to me. She says, maybe all town and state agencies should get tweets for emergencies. Yeah. Like the Kent County Water Authority and every water authority and every authority ought to be able to let customers know if there's a problem. With the modern technology we have in 2013, it'd be nice if we brought the communication to that level. You want to communicate with me? Tell me about your state of mind. 228-1886. Leave a voicemail. We'll air it. stateofmind@myRITV.com is the email, or social media as well. We'll see you tomorrow night on State of Mind. Dan Yorke out. Thanks for joining us.